is field with vast experience in real estate, property development, oil and gas, retail, and manufacturing industry. Ladies and gentlemen, welcoming to our session today is Mr. Ahmad Syahazan. Beri tepukan yang gemuruh. Syahazan.
Thanks, Airil. Thanks, Adi. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Assalamualaikum and very good morning to all of you. Selamat berpuasa. Hope you have a good day today and the rest of the day on your third day of puasa. Is it third day?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it's third day.
Third day.
All right. Okay. Are we ready to get going?
Oh, before that, Mr. Syahazan, just want to introduce you someone who will be joining the session today. Of course, most of you already know him.
Okay.
To many of you, he is an entrepreneur, an auditor, accountant, educator, a symbol of inspiration and aspiration. But to me, he is a very good friend of mine. Beri tepukan yang gemuruh di rumah masing-masing untuk Mr. Airil Razali.
Hello. You know, when Adi introduced me, Syahazan,
Yep.
I feel like geli-geli. Hi, assalamualaikum and good morning to everyone. On behalf of TYMBA Education, I would like to apologize because of the technical issue that we faced this morning. But however, we are very excited to receive Tuan Syahazan today. All right, Tuan Syahazan is actually he used to be my boss actually back then when I was in EY. All right, so very humble that we are able to receive you today, sir. All right, so if you guys want to know about audit, if you guys want to know about digital audit, external auditor, this is the expert lah. I can say that he is the expert. He is very well experienced, and therefore that's why kita invite dia. Sebenarnya guys, just to share, remember that when we started off 3 weeks ago, we started off with the idea of sharing on IR 4.0 and also gig economy. So kalau you tengok during the first week, it was actually just a brief explanation on what we are going through, and then we start to look into the technicality last week when we had Eugene Koh Waisian from MBank, and then just to close off on the session on IR 4.0, here we have Tuan Syahazan with us. Now, so without further ado, okay, Tuan Syahazan, we pass you over the mic. So let's start off. Thank you. Cheers.
Okay, thanks Airil, thanks Adi once again. Okay, Airil, Adi, I think just stop me or just chip in as and when you want to, you like to. Yeah, we got the topic on digital audit. I am very excited to talk in front of the 163 participants as at now, as we speak now.
Yes.
Yeah, I understand from Airil, TYMBA has got 2 sessions before on IR 4.0 and gig economy, and I really hope this and the series of the session with a bang, hopefully. Okay, let me quickly start. Trying to move from one slide to another. Okay. Sorry, the slide goes a bit too fast. Okay. So the outline of today's simple sharing session or brief sharing session that I would like to share with all of you would be, I'll be introducing a little bit of digital audit and IR 4.0, the landscape here in Malaysia in terms of technology adoption, data analytics and the future of audit, and last but not least, which I believe most of you, since I believe here most of you are students or fresh graduates, the survival skills for the need for the future in line with the IR 4.0. Okay, on the digital audit 4.0, digital audit and IR 4.0, I think this is something that probably, if not all of you, most of you have seen before. What happened within an internet minute? There's so many things happening. So this is what it means by a revolution. People watch Netflix more than 694,000 hours in 1 minute. I don't know how many hours people watch Money Heist. I heard Valencia just now. So Facebook, Google, and I think in this situation of MCO, online shopping, groceries, all your needs are all via online. So it helps, but it also goes in line with digital audit. So for the next 20 to 30 minutes, I'll try to take you through how this IR 4.0 is linked to audit, or in more specific terms, it's on digital audit. Okay, we can also see that these are some example of the technologies in line with the industry 4.0. We've got big data, we've got autonomous robots, we've got cyber security. But allow me just to share only some of the elements for this sharing session. But as an introduction, we all of us should know, and for those who have joined the previous two sharing session, probably Airil and Eugene has talked a lot, has discussed a lot on this particular IR 4.0, including the gig economy topics. So today I will just zoom in specifically to digital audit. Okay, digital audit is actually a very broad topic. Okay, but what I will just share is that what is currently happening globally in audit firms, or in a professional services firm, I would say, as well as in Malaysia. Okay, on this particular slide, I've shared what Deloitte, EY, and PwC is currently embarking on. You can see Deloitte with the name of Omnia, PwC with the name of Aura, and EY with the name of Canvas. These are actually their tools or software whereby they use it to do their day-to-day audit engagements. It does not only cover the software whereby the procedures are performed within that particular software and everything is actually parked inside there. No, it's actually more than that. It's actually an integration of few tools within that particular software, whereby it can do more than just performing procedures, putting Excel in. No, it's not only that. It includes a dashboard that allow the preparer and the reviewer to communicate in terms of the status, the updates of the engagement, the completion, the review notes. Okay. Then they also have things like data analytics tools. In EY, they call it Helix, or in the past, they call it EY Eagle, whereby it analyzes all the general ledger given by the clients to the audit team. So it is very powerful, whereby once the GL is inside the particular tools or software, it can analyze from all angles by setting different criteria. It can use to detect fraud. It can use to detect any anomalies, and also there are certain tools that can analyze any outliers, collection trends from the customer, payables, and so many things. So these are some of the examples that the big four firms across the world has been embarking, and they are actually doing it worldwide. Every single country have been using it. It's just that, of course, there are challenges and hiccups throughout the way because of the limitation of data to be obtained from the client. But in actual fact, it's actually been used in most of the large size engagements in most of the big four. Anything, Airil, you want to chip in at this point in time?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, tadi actually I terkeluar sekejap just now because of the internet connection. But to me, I think it's I'm quite familiar because when I left the big four last time, I think we are about to they were about to start off with these platforms, kan? But what do you think about the medium-sized firm? Do they have a similar platform like this?
Okay, since you asked that question, I probably have to skip to this particular slide. Okay, in actual fact, I think the medium firms, I think the small and medium firms, small and medium practitioners, in short, we call it SMP in general in Malaysia. In fact, our firm as well, Salihin, we have used AXP, and we are transforming to use Caseware. So these are the three examples of the audit software used by the firms in Malaysia in general. I think the most famous one will be AXP, which is not so difficult to use, more quite straightforward. CCH and Caseware. So these are some of the examples of the audit software used. Of course, it's not as advanced, I would say, as compared to the big four in-house built audit software. So, but at the end of the day, it meets the purpose. The audit firms in Malaysia, the SMPs, can still achieve the objective because it guides them through in terms of the procedures. It might still be limited in as far as analytics is concerned. But other than that, it really helped. It really helped because from my personal perspective, coming from a big four, I think the usage of software, even though analytics is more or less limited as compared to Canvas, to EMS when I'm in Deloitte. So, but it's still very helpful. It's still very helpful. It actually guide the audit team members in terms of performing the procedures, addressing the right assertion as they go through the audit process.
Understand?
Yep. Okay. Can I continue? At least coming back to the earlier slide. Okay. Just to share in terms of technology adoption, how Malaysians are actually adopting technologies. This is actually a report or survey done by MIA. So it specifically catered to the group of accountants. So I think in accounting or auditing professions in Malaysia, this is back in 2018 if I'm not wrong, I think the Malaysian accountants or auditors being in the profession, Microsoft and accounting software is something that is very common. That's why you can see the long blue line, 97, 92%. However, coming into tax audit software and data analytics, we are still a little bit behind. But if you can, but you can see that firms or certain SMPs are being more aware that it's very, very important for them to start using software to improve efficiency. For example, one of the reason, and also due to some regulators' demand or regulators' requirement. So of course, it is good because you know that audit are done more efficiently, audit are done more accurately. So that is where people are starting to transform. So that is basically the scenario here in Malaysia in terms of adapting on the technology or digital audit, I would say. Okay.
Especially in this MCO punya situation ni, you don't really have a choice.
Correct. You're right. Yes, it really helps. I think I've got some of my audit colleagues here in this particular session. So I think if you ask them how we've been reviewing work, is everything on soft copies. Some of them are actually on software. So it really helps. Digital audit, it really helps. The software really helps, especially when this kind of situation happen. MCO, you can't go anywhere. You can just sit in front of your laptop reviewing the work. But at least you can get some output rather than you're stuck, you can't do anything. Then how are you going to do business? Okay. All right. On the next particular topic, which I think this is the main topic that we'll be discussing, I got few slides on data analytics and the future of audits. I think the first one talks about the approach of the audit. I think it is no longer using the sampling approach. I think if there are few people in this session are actually already in Big Four, they would know better. They actually, how Big Four do the audit is no longer using a sampling approach. There are certain accounts balances that they probably still do sampling, but if they get 100% data or general ledger plus trial balance and everything from the client, is as good as you don't have to do sampling anymore, because sampling is something that, okay, probably you choose certain line items and then you perform the work. But I think with these data analytics tools, you can get 100% sample, and then you can do the analysis from there. You talk about test of details or revenue. Okay, yes, you can do some vouching, but with this particular data analytics tool, it's easier for you to perform or to write an analytical review. Okay, it's easier for you to to see which month are the outliers. It's easier for you to analyze where did it go wrong. In the past, probably where could go wrong, but now we can see what have gone wrong. You know, so that is basically the how powerful data analytics is, especially when you get 100% data from your client. But of course, practically speaking, I think there are still certain clients who still didn't want to give 100% data, and I think that's the situation in Malaysia. But in more developed countries, I think you can take whatever you want to take. You are my auditor. You know how to manage confidentiality. You do whatever you want, analyze it, and give me all the good feedbacks from your audit. That's the reality in the more developed countries, probably Australia, New Zealand. Airil, I understand some of these participants are actually in overseas. Are they students or are they practicing accountant?
I think a few of them who registered ada yang trade. Some of them are trainees and some of them are actually attached to the firm. So if any of you guys overseas, attached to the firm, please do a shout out. Maybe you can do a bit sharing. Aiman, I know Aiman is here. Aiman Zafri is here. Yeah. But then Syahazan kan. So this from this angle that you are sharing with us kan. So this is where people are saying that okay, so we no longer need auditors or auditors role are going to change because now like as though as
everything can be done by the machine.
Everything can be done by the machine. So what do you think?
Okay, if everyone can just bear with me a little bit more, maybe I got few more slides to go before I get to that topic. Is that fine?
Okay. Yep.
Okay. All right. Okay, that's data analytics, and then we talk about artificial intelligence, which is, I think, more or less closely related to data analytics. But I just want to share from an article that I've read is that how the AI is actually that powerful. It can help to analyze a lot of things, including helping the auditors to analyze a lease contract. This is what I've read. I think it's actually done by EY as well. They can analyze the lease contract, and that saves a lot of time, because when you want to see certain areas or you have concerns, you just set the criteria, you get the AI just to help you read or pick up certain items. I think what we have done in the past is like open up the PDF. If you're lucky enough, you get that version that you can do the Control F and then check. But I think moving forward, they can do more than that. They can just set a criteria and they just can get the AI or the software to do it. On top of that, one of the articles that I've read, there's also one of the firm is actually embarking on detecting fraud using a software or a tool whereby AI can detect certain anomalies or outliers, which as an auditor, of course, we are very skeptical about fraud incidents. So these are certain things, because I think in the past, how you detect fraud, you look into the GL, you see any round number items, entries posted over the weekend. That could probably be the criteria. But moving forward, is that something that you want to do? Is actually easier as compared to what you've done in the past. So these are some of the example how AI will be able to help the auditors nowadays and moving forward. It will be much easier. It will save lots of time. Okay. Okay. One more is actually on the drone usage. This is also very interesting. Right before I left, this is quite the big thing that's happening in certain developed countries in the assurance practice. At that point of time, back in 2017 or early 2018, in I think in European countries or in the Americas, they no longer send human auditors to do observation of stock count at the client's
Ooh.
premise. To that
Ooh.
extent.
Power.
I think they had this software embedded into the drones. They will just program it to the drone, and the drone will start scanning barcode, scanning QR. And then observe whether or not all the stocks and whether or not it fulfill the certain assertions of existence from an auditing perspective. So it can be that powerful. I've also heard stories about some of the firms have been using drones to ascertain existence of oil palm plantation. Because if you were to imagine, how do you really how do you actually fulfill the ascertain of existence of oil palm plantation with, I don't know, thousands of hectares probably. You imagine Sabah Sarawak especially. You know, one of your client, you have, I don't know, thousands of hectares or acres of oil palm plantation. You won't know how much is immature, how much is mature. Drone will be very helpful. Drone, because they will fly around the areas to see, okay, look, okay. Then I think somehow drones can be programmed to also detect the areas, you know, the square feet.
Oh,
So
yeah. What I think they use here, Shazad,
Yep.
because actually my company also we perform such things. So what we
Okay.
do is we use the lidar sensor. So
Okay.
it's actually an infrared detection whereby they can actually perform an infrared to basically measure the whole pump or anything lah. So
Correct.
they attach the lidar to the drone. Yeah.
So yeah, that's a really good technology. It really helps. You don't have to send, like, I don't know, 10 to 12 people, or sometimes more than 15 people to just make sure, okay, look, this area is actually mature area, this actually immature. Moving forward, this will be very helpful. But from what I understand, at this point of time in our country, this particular drone usage is still costly. But I think, of course, things come with economies of scale. So as the demand for these particular things grow, I'm sure it will be something that will be affordable to everybody, whether it's Big Four or the SMPs. Hopefully one day, we really hope we can embark on this. Okay. Don. Okay, next is something that I would like to address what Airil asked earlier. The survival skills. I think in terms of the question, the big question here is that whether or not the profession of an accountant or auditor is still relevant within 5 years, within 10 years, I don't know, within 15, 20 years. I think one good question that you can probably ask yourself one day if you become parents, like for me, I am a parent right now. Would you want your kids to become an accountant, or specifically for me, whether I want them to become auditor or not? Okay, I don't have an answer right now to that question because my kids are still very young. But it's the future of the profession. It's the future of the profession, and personally, I still believe the profession will still exist and it will not be obsolete. Okay. At the same time, I think the subject matter expert felt the same too. They believe that yes, AI data analytics will be able to help a lot in terms of achieving the objective of doing audit or getting to the finishing line, whereby auditors, they will issue the audit opinion, as well as a presentation to the audit committee, the board. Okay, look, we have completed audit. But along the way, when data analytics comes out with all the input, who will be there to analyze? Who will be there to be talking to those charged with governance? It will still be human. Okay, it will still be human, and there are still a lot of processes that require human intervention. Okay, so judgment skill, for example, when you get a set of goodwill impairment, for example, you have all the submissions. Then the question here is that, okay, they can give you sensitivity analysis. Yes, you can put everything on the software, but at the end of the day, yes or no doesn't come from machine. Yes or no still comes from a human being. So that's just a very simple scenario that I would like to share, which means that at the end of the day, it will still be human that is required to make certain decision. Data
Syahazan?
analytics, yep.
Yeah, I have a question in regards to the drone just now.
Okay.
So, what you're trying to say that now audit firms are hiring drone operators in their company to do their work?
I think
Or they outsource it?
there are a few options. I think in the Big Four, they are probably setting up some kind of like a division whereby they will have their own expertise. I think in Malaysia, we are trying to move towards, let's look for the outsourced operators first. Because I think the SMPs probably we are still we probably don't have that much capital to really set up this kind of department and really to become the expertise of this kind of technology. But I'm sure I understand that there are quite a lot of drone operators out there that will be willing to sell these kind of services.
Yeah.
Sounds like a personal interest of you, Adi.
Yes, because my background was broadcasting films.
Okay.
So I have some interest in those kind of stuff. So if Salihin Group is looking for a drone operator,
okay,
I'm the guy to call.
now I know. Good to know that. Okay, all right. The next few slides are basically just on the competency, the must-have competency, I would say. I think this particular slide is moving a bit too fast, so I'll just go back to this. Okay, so I think the must-have competency in this case of surviving the audit digitalization, these are the 4 criteria. I think number 1 is data vigilance. I think an accountant or specifically an auditor, they have to be very vigilant of the data. They have to know whether they got the correct data or not. They know their client very well to assess whether the data they have is correct or not. They have to be very wary about cyber security, confidentiality. So that's why I think in general, I think the accountants nowadays, they have to be very good at all this. And how they can be very good at all this are the other 3 criteria. They have to learn a lot. They have to learn from time to time. One example is that I myself, I've started back into audit back in 2008. Throughout my EY years, actually, I've used 3 audit software. We started with AWS when I was a junior for a while only. Then we moved to this software called Gamex, and then this software called Canvas. So I think things move very fast. I think if you join the Big Four, global will be starting. I mean, at the global level, they will start to introduce this software, this tool. So I think whoever in this particular session, they will just have to be aware that they have to adapt, they have to learn. Becoming an accountant, whatever profession that you are in, as long as you are professional, in this generation, you really have to learn. You really have to adapt fast. Okay.
Yeah.
So online learning, various platform. I think specifically in this MCO situation, there are lots of webinars talking a lot about lots of things, how to survive businesses. So this is very important for you to always on the learning experience in addition to your academic learning. I understand that some of you are still pursuing your HCA, but you should not stop there. You should learn whatever that for your papers. On top of that, you should read a lot. You should try to join any webinars, any seminars, to learn, to know more. Adaptability, agility comes hand in hand together with the learning experience, together with the on learning experience. So I think if you try to embed and combine all this together, I don't see there's any issue, any of you to survive audit digitalization. I started back in 2008, I struggled at first. In fact, until now, I mean, you can ask some of my colleagues who are in this session how we struggle to understand caseware. I mean, in reality, caseware back, I think 2 months back, because yes, we have used different software, but different software has different way of or different method. So it's not that easy. But at the end of the day, how you are open enough to learn, to adapt to it, that's what audit digitalization is all about. Anything, Airil, you want to add?
No, I do agree with you, because I think we have been highlighting this over and over again. Being in this digital era whereby change is the only constant that we can see today, you know, it's all about adapting, kan? It's all about adapting. So even if we look into the professional accountancy paper, Syahazan, just to share with you,
Yep.
The syllabus are also updated to actually look into this data analytics, to look into cryptocurrency, even in terms of financial reporting. They actually highlight on how do we actually account for cryptocurrency, how do we account for this data in companies. So that is where for you guys as students, and also as if you have just graduated, about to embark your career, or just started off with any firm, you must be able to have the willingness to learn, and it just doesn't stop lah. So now you hear from the man himself again. So he also said the same thing. So there's no choice.
I think learning should not stop. Learning should not stop. I think it's something that, I mean, in this kind of profession, with all these technology changes, you just have to go through it. You just have to be very open to it. I think, in my experience, I've also seen, like, I think in the past, when I was a senior manager, I think sometimes I pity my partners who are actually maybe 50 years old. They got like another like 5 years to retirement. But they have to learn, and they still learn. They still learn the audit software, because you can imagine they started their job back in the maybe 80s or 90s. Back then it was purely pen and paper, but they have gone through that phase whereby pen and paper changed into laptops, laptop changed into accounting software, then software, auditing software, then changed to all these tools, you know. But somehow, it's from your own self whether you want to learn and you want to adapt to it. So that's why I'm just sharing that there are lots of examples. You can see people out there, because if you don't adapt, if you're still learning something, it's not your thing, I think it's very hard or very difficult for you to survive this kind of profession. And I'm sure if you once you are back, I mean, some of you overseas or whoever, that once you are in the profession, once you are already a chartered accountant, you've got your CPD hours that you have to fulfill. So automatically you have to learn. But there's also a difference, people that getting or earning their CPD hours by just entering into that seminar, coming out with $0. So you just have to be able to focus, because sometimes you just get distracted with work. But that's the difference. You just have to learn. If you don't learn in the seminars or from what people say, you just have to read a lot. Okay, that's just some of the scenario that I'm sharing. I hope it helps.
Okay, I think Abdullah Ahmed, yes, we will share with you.
Okay, before I that's basically my presentation. I think just to wrap it up before we get to Q&A, or I'll pass back to TYMBA Education guys. And I mean, I just thought of this particular quote when I was drafting the slides. Technology is like a wave. You don't cruise it, instead ride it. You know, so. I hope it gives you thousands or millions of meanings after sharing my 13 slides. So that's all I have. I pass it back to Adi and Airil to open up any question and answers. Thanks guys.
Yep. Okay, before we go to the Q&A slide, Syahazan, do you mind to just skip to the next slide?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sure. Yep.
Okay, just for guys, TYMBA Education is actually an ACCA tuition provider, whereby we have kicked off our own IRC programs. So just feel free to connect us via our Instagram. And if you have any questions, then you can just follow our Instagram, TYMBA.education, or you can just contact me via WhatsApp or via email, or via Twitter or via LinkedIn.
All right, so now let's open the floor to any questions. All right, if you have any questions, feel free to ask us. Feel free to ask Syahazan. Bukan senang, no, it's not easy to get Syahazan here. The proof, guys. Let me share something with you. Syahazan is actually, of course, he was my ex-boss, but now he's actually my neighbor. And like for the past, how many months, Syahazan, have you moved here?
I think I moved last year, October, November, around that time.
For the past like almost 6 months since October tu, ajak pergi Starbucks pun tak ada tu. So that shows how busy Syahazan is lah. Also, we have a question, Adi.
All right. Okay. This is from Adib Effendi. What's the difference between big and medium firm? Why do you move from big to medium firm, and how does Salihin plan to survive this IR 4.0?
Okay, this is this is kind of like a personal question, I would say, but I'll try to answer. It's just that how should I put it? Something that interests me, because I would want to see, because as an personally, as an auditor of a Big Four for so many years, I've never got the chance to see how it's actually done in a different perspective, in a smaller or medium practice. So I was always wondering, and the opportunity came in 2018 when I was called for an interview by the president of MIA at that point of time.
Salihin.
Yes, Salihin Abang. So he shared his inspiration, his vision about the firm, and also specifically about the audit department of his firm. And and I felt that it was in line with what I want to do as I go on with my career. I knew at that point of time I still have a long way to go, and of course I had my milestone that I would like to achieve along the way until I retire, which I don't know when. So that was when I decided to move from big firm to medium firm. There's no right or wrong answer. People make their own choice. Some of my batchmates still stay, still in Big Four, still in EY. Yeah. Some of them have made partners. So it's good. It's good. There's no right or wrong answer again to the question. If all of you want to start your career, whether it's a Big Four or a medium firm or even commercial, everyone has their own interests and their own way. Their own way of starting their career. So to answer, hold on. Yep.
I think just to share a bit on Adib's question ni kan. Yep. So like macam whether you want to go to medium or big size firm sebenarnya, do you agree if I were to say it actually depends on what is your end goal kan? I mean what do you actually want to achieve at the end of the day?
Yeah, true. Kan? True. Yeah.
So it really depends on that.
Yeah, yes, it actually depends on that. But I think the learning curve can be slightly different, whereby I think in the medium firm, you can see, you will do probably smaller scale size of clients, and you can see more when you're actually a junior level. But when you are becoming more and more senior, it more or less whether it's going to be equal at big and medium firm, or sometimes you learn more at big firm, or sometimes you learn more at medium firm. But of course, the exposure, the people that you meet are actually different, because in a medium firm, the clients are slightly different. But they are mostly small and medium entrepreneur, and not many listed clients. So I mean, the client base are different. The people that you'll be working with also will be slightly different. Okay, the second part of the question, how does Salihin plan to survive this IR 4.0? Actually, how we are going to survive is that it's not easy, but the good thing is that we have our managing partner who is also into this IR 4.0. he himself also gave quite a lot of number of talks on IR 4.0. Internally, I think I would say most of our internal process are actually automated. We've got our HR portal, for example. We've got a few internally generated tools or software which we use to help our daily operations. Externally, I think, as I shared earlier, I think audit, we've used AXP before, then now we're using Caseware, and we are trying to also work with certain digital audit companies. Like, for example, we have one relationship, one MOU signed with this company called ACL, whereby they will also, we are in talks or discussion that we will use some of their modules into our audit. Sampling, analytics. So we are trying to just ensure that we add a bit of both, our side internally plus externally. That's how we just try to roll out this IR 4.0 revolution into our firm along the way.
Understand.
Right.
Interesting.
I hope that answer your question, Adit.
Okay, let's go to the next one. Yeah.
Yeah, next is from Umar Farouk. Dia nak tanya, kalau kita tengok keadaan ekonomi sekarang, kebanyakan employee akan hilang pekerjaan. Bagaimana dengan bidang audit? Adakah perkara yang sama akan berlaku? Syahazan, because of our streak of time, I would like to suggest to you that we keep your answers as brief as possible.
Okay, alright. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, keadaan ekonomi sekarang, I think this is also a very difficult question to answer because in actual fact, I believe and I was made aware that some of the firms are freezing recruitment. Some of the firms, I'm not saying all, but audit in general, because the good thing with audit is it's actually a routine work. You can't escape. From year on year, you still have to perform the annual audit at whatever cost. So people come and go. So the answer here is that inshallah there are still opportunities if you were to apply, and I don't think Big Four or some of the firms will stop themselves from recruiting. Probably in this kind of situation, MCO, PKP ni, maybe it's a bit difficult lah. But I think once it's all uplifted, things settle, June, July onwards, probably you can, the things will get better. Okay, sorry, next question.
Because like you guys must remember, at the end of the day, audit ni is a compliance.
Yeah.
So whether they like it or not, the company like it or not, they will still have to perform their audit. But what may change is if, let's say, the economic condition is worsened, then perhaps cost would be an issue. So perhaps if, let's say, previously they've been using UI ke PwC, if cost is an issue, then that is where they may start to renegotiate on the cost. Tak pun tukar lah firm, ambil lah small medium size firm ke. But at the end of the day, the profession itself should be okay in terms of the situation that we are facing lah. Not 100% lah, more or less affected, but not severe lah.
Correct. Yep. Agree.
Right, thank you guys. Next from Fahim, in regards to IR 4.0, what do you think about Malaysia business owner coping with the revolution?
I think I shared in the first few slides. I think we are still way behind, but they are catching up. The business owners are catching up, but it's not as fast as other developed countries. In fact, as compared to our neighbour Singapore, we are still slightly behind. But in general, I think we are coping up. I think we can see that engineers, doctors, architects, they are into technology nowadays. I think when I had my personal conversation with my wife, who actually an architect, when she goes to her conferences, architect conferences, they are into technology as well. All this kind of software, analytics, everything. So I think business owners in general are coping quite well, but of course this year will be a very difficult year because technology requires a lot of capex, capital expenditure. But I'm sure, inshallah, 2021, the economy will recover and the Malaysian business owner in general will start to roll back whatever that they planned earlier.
Yeah.
Just a follow up from the question from Fahim, right?
Mm.
Let's say, assume Malaysian audit firms does not adapt to IR 4.0 or does not embrace IR 4.0. So what are the repercussions?
I think the repercussion is that they will lose out in terms of efficiency as compared to certain firms that have been embracing IR 4.0. When you lose out efficiency, you'll spend more time. When you spend more time, you will lose financially. So I think that will give you that will give you a lot of negative effects from your business perspective as well as regulators perspective, from a regulation perspective. Because the thing with audit, we are very highly regulated. We got too many eyes and ears out there looking for us, hearing us. So I think somehow the regulators felt that, come on guys, let's make sure you guys are on software, you guys do things better. So if you are a bit behind, I think the businesses will see you as not a very good competitor.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much for your answer. Next, from Airil Hamza, how does the current pandemic affect the auditing firm in running the business and also accepting clients?
Oh, very good question. Running the business, can answer that. I think if you ask me, I think some of my colleagues, my managers are here. They knew, they still work either 8 hours a day or sometimes more than that, because they knew that they have to turn things around. The reason why they have to turn things around, because clients are expecting auditors can still do their job. Because if I am the client, guys, you got your computers, you can talk to each other. The thing with accounting or auditing, everything can be done on computer. I send you software and do it. Okay, so there's no excuse that business couldn't run as usual. Probably it's slightly different, but still can be done. Accepting clients, of course, is the tricky part. But it still can be done, because I think accepting client requires a lot of judgment and discussions with your superiors. So the process of accepting client can still continue as usual by sending out the forms for discussion, and discussion shall happen. Because to be honest, in this MCO client, as a firm, from my personal perspective, we actually accepted few clients. But of course, we accepted first, the engagement will start later. So things are still run as usual in a slightly different mode.
Understand?
Airil, anything you want to add?
No, I think I do agree with Syahazan. Yep. Same lah. It's the same like what we are doing in Singapore. Yep.
All right. Okay. Okay. Final 3 questions from Aisha Othman. For a student that are currently studying right now, what is your suggestion for us to prepare ourselves for the uncertain future? You mentioned just now to read more. Is there any specific area of reading we shall focus more?
Okay.
Drone operation, Aisha.
Drone operation. That can be very interesting. I think from what I've shared, and from what I've read, there are a lot of articles, journals that talk about how accountants should adapt to technology. But at the same time, I think being an accountant, or one day if you were to become an auditor, you shall read a lot of technical materials. Technical material is very important, because now we know that standards, accounting standards change quite frequently. You got new standards from time to time. They got changes to the existing standards. So I think in terms of specific area of reading, I think in terms of technical material will help. Something to do with technology topic will also be very helpful. And the business in general, I think to know what is the situation, or what is the current scenario of business, market situation, that will be very helpful. Okay, I hope I answered that question. Airil, probably you want to add from your perspective in terms of reading?
In terms of reading,
gaining knowledge.
Gaining, I think kalau macam if you want to look in terms of gaining knowledge, reading of course is one of the way. But what I think you can also consider, Syahazan, do you actually agree with me? So if let's say I were to look into data analytics, kan, if I were to perform a profession with on something on data analytics, would that actually be useful in terms of the role of an external auditor?
Yes, I would say so.
Because just to share with you guys, if you guys don't know, you can look into Peneraju's website. Some of you are maybe sponsored students. Peneraju actually because I just got this last week though. I think a couple of weeks ago. Peneraju has just kicked off this data scientist. It's either data scientist or data engineering program. Big data scientist and also big data engineering program. You guys can look into that. It's a 3-month program and it's totally free. It's a fully sponsored program. Maybe perhaps during this free time that you have, you can just try and apply, right? Yeah. So that is one way lah. If you want to improve yourself, Aisha, perhaps. Okay, next please.
Oh, that's very good sharing. I think I can also share people in Salihin because
Yes. Then we can become classmates, bro.
Okay. All right, Dee.
All right. Okay. Next from Fatima Az-Zahra. Salam. Since the COVID-19, will there be a risk if the firm did not adopt to digitalization or part de-digitalize? I mean, the auditee. I think this is a question that I asked previously. So what if local firm?
I think similar.
Yeah. So maybe you can elaborate a little bit more just for Fatima.
There will be a risk if the firm did not. So I think I've answered earlier. I think from the auditor's perspective, they will be left behind. I think from the auditee's perspective, the client's perspective, they will have a different perception on that particular auditor or that professional services firm, because it looks like or give a perception from a client's perspective or auditor's perspective that why are other firms are embarking on a lot of technology things and you are still coming in and do pen and paper kind of audit, sampling kind of audit. I mean, that's the scenario. I hope I answer the question just to elaborate a little bit from Adi's question earlier.
All right, thank you. All right, next from Airil Razali to the 170 people who are here today. Airil Razali ni memang bila suka bagi soalan, dia bagi soalan last minute tau. Bila orang nak baru dia nak bagi soalan. But anyway, from Hilal, how do you perform integrated reporting audits? Also, do you see sustainability reporting, integrated reporting will be easier or more difficult to achieve digitally?
Okay, integrated reporting and sustainable reporting. To be honest, from my personal perspective and the firm, this is something that is quite new. I mean, to some firms, this is something that they have been doing for quite a while by now, because I think integrated and sustainable reporting has been just introduced by Bursa for the last, I think, maximum 2.5 years. Okay, to answer your question whether it can be achieved digitally, I know the procedures are slightly different as a normal audit. It might not be achieved, or it might not be done a lot on a quantitative method as compared to external financial statement audits. So it depends. From what I understand from my conversation with the team has been doing integrated and sustainability reporting, my colleagues out there, they still use, but it's still quite limited because it involves a lot of qualitative information rather than quantitative information. But I think there are also still, I think in the Big Four, they still want to try see how integrated and sustainability reporting audit can be done digitally. But it's still, I think it's still a work in progress kind of thing. I believe so. Yeah.
Because it's quite new, kan? I mean, like integrated reporting, sustainability reporting. If you are a listed client, then perhaps in Malaysia, then perhaps you actually perform it. But if coming from the perspective of SMEs, there's no compliance on it pun. So if you look into first world countries, then perhaps they seem that this is more and more important. So for us, we are getting there. We are getting there.
True.
It seems that Malaysia is always getting there.
Oh. But eventually we got there.
Inshallah, we will get there.
That's
even
Malaysia.
even our film industry nowhere to be found, but getting there lah.
Getting
All
there.
right. All right.
No,
Final question.
Adi,
Yes.
Adi, the point here is that at the end of the day, the key to success always start with one small step lah.
The one small step. Oh, it's
The
okay.
The key to success, always begins with that one small step that you take lah.
Yes.
So getting there.
I'm getting there. I want to take the step, but I cannot go out.
Okay, dah cukup di. Last question.
Sorry guys. All right, final question from Hanan through Airil Razali. Do you agree that the time taken to prepare, set up the data, i.e. data messaging, data completeness check, etc., to set up data analytics procedures and platforms tends to exceed the benefit we practically gain from it? Further, given the tight deadlines we usually face in audit.
Okay, very good question. I think let me answer it partially, and I'll pass to Airil because Airil probably has experienced these steps before a few years back. Okay, yes, everything has to start with the first time. Okay, so that's why I said when the first time you use that particular platform, software, app, or that tool will always be the hardest. Especially in our country, I think clients are still with the mentality that, okay, I'll just give you your check lah. So I think the massaging, the completeness check can be very, very tedious. And then once it's in, you need to start finding buttons here and there to ensure that you get the right output. Sometimes it turned out to be error. It turned out to be like, okay, you just upload the whole night, to the next day you switch on, it's just gone, or it's just an error. So these are the things that you have to face. But trust me, I've been in that kind of situation, but I think after a while, 6 months, 9 months, a year down the road, you felt it just happened naturally. Naturally. You get all the outputs in just one go. The first year will always be very difficult, especially when you are assigned to be the pilot project. That one is very difficult. But because that's why usually credits will be given to the pilot team, because they have gone through that hardship to ensure that if you are a pilot or you're the champion, you'll be highly respected, because they knew that you have gone through that hardships until things got stable and it can be rolled out stably. Airil, over to you. You want to add on?
I do agree. I think Hanan ni, she must be a first year auditor, I guess. But it's okay, Hanan. Be persevere, stay strong. Because the first year is always the toughest lah. Because of the learning curve that you are going through. But then once you've done your first round, subsequently if you're going to do it again, I think it will be much easier lah. It's just that the first time tu memang macam sakit sikit, but then as you go on and you become fluent in what you're performing, it should be fine. But at the end of the day, I think that's why people would always think again and again whether should they become an auditor, because of this kind of thing. They say it tends to be very tedious. But please look in terms of the experience that you're going to gain out of the things that you're performing. At the end of the day, the experience that you're going to get to is something that is worthwhile more than anything that you can get out there lah.
Yep, I totally agree.
All right, that is the final question for today's session. Any closing remark from each of our speakers today?
Shazan, you go first.
I think that's basically it I have. It's just that you need to be. I think my short advice to all of you is that to become a good accountant and to stay relevant in this profession, learn a lot. Try to adapt as much as you can, and just stay strong, think that those are the key ones, because it's not going to be easy riding through the waves of becoming an accountant or an auditor. But inshallah, it's a good career. It will take you everywhere. It will make you a better person from time to time. That's all. Very short advice.
Okay.
Airil?
Thank you, Syahazan. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Okay. I of course on TYMBA Education behalf again, Syahazan, I would like to thank you so much
No
for volunteering to share with us, and thank you so much to these 170 participants that we have today.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, and then you imagine kan, we are talking something that is so dry, something on audit, bapak bosan ni, macam people would have that thought. But alhamdulillah, we have like alhamdulillah, we have like 160, 170 participants to stay. Shout out to you guys. We hope that this session is beneficial to all of you.
Yep.
But before we close off the session, I just want to share that this will be our last session on IR 4.0. So what we would anticipate next week is that we have called a director from MIDA. She is actually coming to share with us to answer your concern. You know, you guys have been giving us feedback over and over again. Concern COVID-19 ni macam mana? COVID-19 jana tak ada kerja. Financial statement ni macam mana? Loss making ni, client tak ada, business tak ada. So we are getting the person herself to share with you guys. So make sure after the end of this session, we have a gift for you. Please check your email. All right. So yeah, that's for me, Adi.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Syahazan and Mr. Airil, for your time. I hope our participants have gained a lot from the knowledge you've shared. To our participants, thank you so much for spending your Sunday morning with us, especially during Puasa ni. You guys are the future leaders of this country. Thank you so much. As usual, we will be sending Puasa penuh, insyaAllah. As usual, we'll be sending to all of you feedback forms for you to share with us your reviews and how we can improve on our sessions. Stay home, stay safe, and Salam Ramadan. This is Adi Faisal, CNN, Kuala Lumpur.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay,
Cheers,
bye.
guys.
Bye.
Thanks,
All right,
Syahazan.
ciao, guys. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.